Hi, everyone, and welcome to the webinar today, the Mid-Year Operational Checkup for Facilities Team. Throughout today's webinar, we'll be asking some poll questions and share the results as we go, so we encourage you to participate. David, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Adira, and thanks everybody for joining me today. And happy Thursday. So we're going to jump in. I want to keep this very interactive. So I'm going to ask you a lot of questions throughout, and just make your selection. We want to hear from you. We want to kind of poll the audience and see where you kind of stand today. And what we're going to really do is score your operations. But this isn't us scoring it. This is you. This is a self-reflection. Pause, reflect, be honest with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and say, here's where I think we stand. Okay. And as I go through this, kind of really think about internally how you see your operations. So from your organization, from your buildings, from your team, and then your overall performance too. Because again, you can't improve what you don't evaluate. So score it, own it, elevate it. So let's start with our first poll question here, and it's how would you rate the health of your facility operations, 1 to 10? So think about yourself in that 1 to 4. If you're there, you kind of consider yourself a little bit of a mess. You need some help, or you're treading water. And then 8 to 10, I think we're in good shape. Make your selection, please, and we'll see where everybody kind of lands. Okay, great. All right, Andir, you want to show the results? All right, so we're kind of mid-range here. That's kind of what I was hoping and expecting. So we're in that, you see that the highest is you're rating yourself a 7. Okay, sixes and fives are following up on that. So that's not terribly bad. So that's good. So and Darren, let's go on to the next here. So now, this is kind of where I was creating an AI image, and I was trying to think of how to really describe facilities teams and facilities leadership and where they kind of land. And it's one of the something a lot like this. This is some of the stuff I hear on the daily from talking to the different facilities folks, and it's we're short-staffed. We've got aging infrastructure. We've got vendor issues, a whole number of different things. Well, it's a lot of headaches, okay? And that's all on your shoulders typically. You're having to deal with this stuff every single day. And it could be even deferred maintenance. It's doing more with less. You've had budget cuts, whatever the case may be. It could be a challenge and it's a tough job. So let's look at your team. Think about your overall team. How would you rate your team? So 1 to 4 is, we're in trouble. We've had a lot of turnover. We're down head count. 5 to 7 is, we're treading water. We're making do with what we've got. And then 8 to 10, rate yourself if you're fully staffed and you're fully operational and you're fully running. How do you rate your team? Okay, let's see the results here, Indira. All right. Okay, there we go. 7 to 8. That's again, that's good. All right. It's, we're struggling a little bit, but we're not fully staffed necessarily. We're not necessarily treading water at the higher end of that, but again, we're running and we're doing the best we possibly can with the team we've got. So let's jump to the next part here. So part of the challenges I hear, and I just have meetings even this week with a bunch of facilities teams. So I meet with the facility operations directors, the VPs, and then I go meet with the team. And some of the stuff I hear from the field team is a lot of times we're wasting time. We're not able to find stuff we need. It's fragmented information spread across different departments, and I'm having to go here and I'm having to go there. Well, what that creates is some potential higher costs. It also makes reactive repairs. Also can help me to understand if there's some hidden stuff out there. It can be hidden surprises, but it also can increase my overall risk. But also, I can't plan for stuff if I don't have all the information to create that plan. So let's look at it from this perspective too. And when was the last time your team did a full asset inventory? Okay, was it 1 to 2 years ago? 3 to 4 years ago, 5 plus years ago, or we've just never had time. We've never done one. Have you ever done a recent, or has there been any time recently where you guys are doing a complete update and looking at what you've really got out in the field? So let's go and see those results, Indira. Okay, got looks like leading the pack is a couple of years ago. That's great. Okay, at the end there is a little bit of a struggle there. We've never had time. So what oftentimes that means is stuff kind of gets out of control. So go ahead and close this end here, and let's look at the next slide here. So here's the challenge with that. If you got an out of date registry, asset registry, that means you're planning for stuff that's incorrect, meaning I can't plan for something if I don't know it exists, or if I swapped out stuff 2 or 3 times. How can I plan for the failure of a piece of equipment if I don't even show it exists? So that can cause unplanned downtime. That can cause wasted spends, okay? Can cause compliance, especially in healthcare, compliance issues. Helps again with poor planning is a big one here. But if you got an asset inventory that's constantly being updated, your team is now able to be on the same page, but so are you. When you're working on that long-term master plan, when you're working on that next replacement for that piece of equipment, you can see current conditions. You can see where you stand today. And that top stat there is one thing I want you to kind of think about because I travel around the country and meet with facilities folks all the time. And I ask them right out of the gates, how accurate is your asset inventory? Okay. And a lot of times when we're out doing an implementation, I'll ask that right out of the gates, do you rely on it? Is it reliable or do you think it's really out of date? Or do you want to have it created from scratch? Most of the time it's created from scratch just because they don't have faith in their asset registry. That's a problem. Okay. So putting tools in place that your team can then turn around and access, but not just access what's in the field, but also be able to update stuff real time so you know what's really out in the field constantly. It's constantly being updated. It's a big deal. Now you're looking at a true snapshot of where you at any given time. You've got accurate information. So here's the next one. Is all of your mechanical equipment and shut off all your electrical, so think about gas, water, power, mapped on floor plans or site plans and accessible by your team in the field. Not having to go back to a computer, not having to go back to, my truck and grab my laptop because I just climbed off the roof, right? Can they access all of that information in the field? Because, in facilities, and I'm preaching to the choir here for the audience, but in facilities, your team's on the go. You don't want them to have to go back, jump in the truck, jump in the golf cart, or run from floor to floor to floor trying to find stuff. You need them to be able to go right there, find what they need, and move forward. So look at those results, Indira. Oh, goodness, that's a little surprising. Okay. So 81% of you said no, we don't. Let me show you what that could look like. And again, it's access to this information in the field. So I call this the time suck. Okay. Technicians are popping ceiling tiles up in the grid and they're looking for stuff. They're just trying to find stuff and they're hunting for stuff. Also, undocumented items mean slower response times. And also, hidden things can sneak up and bite you. So being able to be up on a ladder working on a fan coil unit and wait a minute, there's a valve behind me, or maybe you know what, I see something down there. There's another piece of equipment that I don't have documented. To be able to pull my phone out of my pocket and document that stuff is a big deal. So ask yourself this, how many people on your team know where the FCU is located, or if that valve is located, or which ceiling tile to pop, or how quickly can they find that water isolation valve when something goes sideways? Once you find it, how do they also document that information? So again, just think about that as we move forward into this is how can you do it today? Okay. And where are some of those gaps? So here's our next poll here is your team able to mark up and update equipment changes for equipment and shutoffs in the field live. So if you see that picture off to the right, I took that. These guys are up on a roof. They're replacing this unit. The crane just left. Okay, so they're putting all this stuff in. And can your team update stuff live? Can they make changes? Can they do markups live in the field while they're standing in front of that unit? Okay. Go ahead and close that poll and let's see the results, Indira. Okay. That's kind of what I expected based off the previous one is again, we're talking about field access. Teams are in the field, they're running around fixing stuff. They're running around maintaining stuff. They're doing PMs in the field. Being able to document this stuff is a big deal. Being able to change things, being able to add stuff live while they're standing in front of the unit, that's a big deal. And if you notice there, that guy in the middle there, he's actually got an iPad. So he's updating stuff live. Well, everybody on your team's probably got a smartphone too. They can update stuff live in the field. And I'll show you what that can look like here in a little bit. So information you can trust, okay? Decisions you can count on. It's updating stuff live, making a markup on a plan. So and also moving and adding stuff. So you can see off to the right there, they added a new shutoff. They also moved a shutoff location, putting dates, putting photos, all of that information, being able to update that stuff live in the field, mark it all up, save it, and every person on the team sees it, including you. Changes happen. We capture them live. Your team can then do that, update it. Now everybody's on the same page. Even design construction can see all those changes, which they don't typically see all the day-to-day stuff that changes, right? Well, I'm going to show you what some of the challenges with that can be here in just a few minutes. So the next question is, how much time is your team spending searching for things per week? Okay. This is not a trick question. But I want you to think about it from this perspective. Okay. How many times is your guy going up on the roof, popping the hatch, going out there to figure out what unit or what belt he needs, or figure out what filter he needs, or he's going clear across campus, back and forth? That's still part of time. They're running back and forth trying to find stuff. They're going back to the parts, back to your parts room. They're going to Granger's website. They're on on the laptop. They're going back here. They're going there. Think about it from that perspective. How much time do you think you're spending each team member? Okay, 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours. And again, this is a week, right? This is a daily. If you think that they're not, I want you to next think about it from this perspective. Tomorrow, I want you to watch your team and ask them, hey, how many times are you running back and forth? That's how you come to this number. Let's look at those results. Okay. 1 to 2 hours, 3 to 4 hours, kind of all over the board here. It's pretty evenly matched across here. Too much time? That's, I hear that a lot. Okay. But that 5+ hours, think about that. That's a big number. That's a big number that your team isn't able to go fix more stuff, being able to go respond to more things, right? Those work orders are piling up. So if you can get some of that time back by having them not have to dig, that's a win. Okay. Is it 1 hour a week per person? Is it 2 hours? Is it three? I don't know. Is that for you? Individually by department, you got to kind of weigh that out. But I look at it from the perspective, how much more could they get done? Right? Maximizing your team. Remember that first question or one of those first questions I asked is, how do you rate your team? Well, what if you can get more out of your team because you're already down head count, right? So again, getting more time back for your team to be able to do more, right? So what that can look like is accessing all the shutoffs and equipment location, having them all pinned, having them all located, including photos, make, model, serial number, putting in the belt size, putting in photos of the packaging from the belt, packaging from the filter, putting all that stuff in there, links to your Granger account or whoever you order stuff from, putting links to the YouTube video that the guy found that was how to replace that part. Okay. I jokingly say I'm the best YouTube mechanic there is. There's thousands and thousands of videos out there how to fix anything, right? But if I find one that works, I can link it right to the equipment record, to the location, and now everybody sees it. I don't have to remember, okay? It's in here, it's locked in, and everybody sees it, not just in one person's head either. right? So I call this manager's math. Okay. It's not meant to knock any managers, but it's again, it's what's the assumed time versus the real amount of time. So if you think it takes 15 minutes, okay, and then they get up there and they're working on the unit and it takes 2.5 hours, it's because all kinds of stuff can happen. They can find other stuff. I was just running into this with a company, and I was up and they were working on a big RTU, and it was like a snowball effect. One little thing that broke, okay, led to this thing failing and this thing failing and so on and so on. But again, what they thought was going to be an hour fix ended up being 2 days. Okay. Things can spiral and you don't know until they get out there. But the lesson is things take as long as they take. But being able to plan realistically and getting some of that, what I showed before, more of that time back. Okay, potentially getting more of that time back because now they can even document current conditions. They can take pictures of what things are on their last legs. They can take pictures of that motor. They can take pictures, attach it to the equipment record, and everybody sees that. They can also share that information out with the manager real time. Less surprises. Okay. So here's the next thing. How many of your team members are in that retirement window of 5 years? So think about your team. Okay. How many team members do you have that are in that window of 5 years? Is it 1 to 2? Could it be 3 to 4? Is it 5 plus? How many people on your team are in the retirement window of 5 years? I hear this all the time from folks is, I've got a couple of guys on my team. They're the ones that know where the bodies are buried. Okay. They've been with me forever. I talked to one guy who'd been with an org for 46 years. Think about all the institutional knowledge in that guy's head. So, how many of your team members are in that window? Let's look at our results, Indira. Okay. A couple of people. Okay. And then we've got 3 to 4 coming up next. Okay. So here's the next flip side of that question. Let me get you to think this way too. How much of your building's institutional knowledge is in those people's heads? Think about that. Okay. If you've got two guys who are about to retire in the next couple of years, right? If they leave today, they win the lottery, they get hit by a truck, whatever the case may be, they leave today. What's the impact on your org? Okay. Those are the people who everybody calls. Those are typically the people who, they like I said, they know where the bodies are buried, but they also were there when you made those changes 15 years ago, 20 years ago. They were there. They were there when the walls were open, when you could see all the piping. You were able to see all the plumbing. You were able to see all the electrical. They know that they had to reroute this to go here. They were there. Okay. The problem is that guy in that picture there's probably forgot more than he could teach somebody else today. Okay. So it's important that you start capturing their knowledge before they leave. If you're waiting and waiting and waiting, kicking that can down the road, every day you wait is one day closer to that guy's last day. Okay. Think about that. You don't want to wait until a month before he's set to retire. And let me give you the reason behind this. Okay. Can you hire somebody and get them in place before his last day? So this guy gets to shadow, the new person gets to shadow with this guy before he leaves. Or you can't even run an ad to replace him until he's gone. I see that a lot in municipalities, a lot in public sectors. They can't even run an ad until his last day. So that means all that institutional knowledge just walked. Okay. Think about what you can do today to capture that institutional knowledge before he leaves, right? It's critical because once it's gone, right? He's only going to answer his phone so long. So what that looks like is I ask this, how many Bobs do you have on your team? How many Carls do you have on your team? They're the guys that know where everything is. They're the ones that are on your team that have been there forever. And they're the ones that everybody relies on. They're the ones that have all that knowledge. They have all that experience, all the history. But the impact is when he leaves, think about that. Don't lose what you can't replace. You can't replace what's in that guy's brain, but you can document a lot of the stuff that's in that guy's brain. His institutional knowledge is not a system, right? It's in people. Don't wait until it walks out that door. So document now, preserve that knowledge before he leaves. So do site walks often. Have the newest person on your team also do the site walks with him. Capture exact locations of stuff. I'll give you this example. I was just on site. They had a water leak at a hospital. A hospital. It was the ancillary building for this hospital, right? A water leak, big one, right? Pipe burst. They're trying to find the shutoff. They're calling this guy Roger, trying to figure out where the heck he was, and they tracked him down. He was off site, and he was doing a walk at one of their other buildings that they've got off site. Tracked him down, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's in the southeast corner of the building." They said, "We're standing in the southeast corner." He goes, "Yeah, it's underneath or back behind that bush there, and you're probably gonna have to dig down because I think they buried it when they did the last landscape project." Who knows that? Who would possibly know that? Okay, that had moved. That actual shutoff had moved 4 years before that from another project, never documented. That's the stuff that Bob knows. That's the stuff that Roger knows, that Carl knows, that Kathy knows, whoever's on your team who's been there the longest, right? They're the ones that know those little things that are going to get you out of a jam, right? So they also were there when all the lines were dug up so you could see everything. So imagine being able to document all of that. See in the bottom right hand corner there, being able to document the stuff before it's covered up, taking photos, taking videos, adding all that historical stuff, all that. Well, you know what? You would think that this just serves building A, but it serves building B too, but just a section of the building back in the day before a lot of the stuff was regulated as strongly as it is today, stuff they just put together stuff with duct tape and baling wire a lot. Okay. And they did a lot of really creative fixes. But being able to document that stuff's a big deal. So now you're turning that knowledge into a team asset. Everybody should be able to access that. Every person, your newest person and the person who's been on your team for 30 years, 40 years. Everybody should be on the same page. Everybody should be looking for the same stuff, and everybody should be able to find it right now. So, how long does it take to get your new hires up to speed? Okay, think about that. You've got a brand new person, doesn't know anything about your buildings. They're hired tomorrow, right? They start tomorrow. Okay, so what that clock starts. So 3 to 6 months. Usually that means they're shadowing people, they're shadowing multiple people. 7 to 12 months. They're still leaning on people every day. 12 plus months. Okay, they're working fully independent. I put that in quotes because fully independent, I oftentimes say, well, how many times I'll go to that guy and say, hey, how many times are you calling Bob? Or how many times are you calling Carl? Oh, I call him 5 to 10 times a day. And Carl rolls his eyes and goes, yeah, double that. Okay. The problem is they need to have access to everything too, day one. So that ramp up time of getting them up to speed can shrink significantly if you have everything documented. So let's look at that. Okay, so you've got 3 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months leads the pack there. Okay, 12 plus months. I oftentimes hear that it takes them 3 to 6 months just to find all the bathrooms. Okay, the problem is, especially on larger campuses, it's a maze. Okay, it's just like that mouse going through the maze trying to find that cheese, right? Well, the cheese is they're trying to find the HVAC unit. They're trying to find the unit that serves that critical part of your building. Okay. They need to be able to access stuff just like the person who's been there for 20 years. Everybody should be on the same page. Everybody should be able to hit the ground running from building to building, site to site, wherever the heck they are, have access to all that information day one. Now, they can actually do their job. You hire an electrician to do their job. They don't have to search for all those panels. They're all documented, photos of them, all the panel schedules, all the equipment. I need to know where is it? Where's the disconnect for the equipment? Where's the main distribution panels? Where's all of the information? Where's the switch gears? Okay. All of that stuff, all documented, all in one spot, and every person on the team knows where everything is day one. So what that looks like is, again, the guy on the left is without access. He's digging for stuff. He's asking that guy behind him, where is the information for this? He's searching for information. He's asking people. He's learning by trial and error. He's slower to respond. He's frustrated. I oftentimes hear people get so frustrated because they can't find stuff, they quit. They go find another job because their information to do their job is all over the place. And it costs a lot of lost time, increased risk for your organization, and it also lowers the confidence in your team. Okay. That senior guy behind him, does he think he can rely on the newer guy? No, because he didn't know where anything is. So I'm just going to go do it myself. That doesn't break that cycle. That just makes that cycle even worse. Now you're relying on single points of failure. Okay. The flip side of that is with access to all the building information on day one, they hit the ground running. Okay. They have instant access to what they need day one. They find equipment locations, have history of that information all in seconds. They follow proven processes and procedures. So if the guy on the left there, the older guy, he documents, hey, you know what? This one uses a special tool. It's in my toolbox, or it's in the toolbox over here, or maybe it's hanging on the wall back behind the unit, whatever the case may be. Documenting all of that stuff is going to save everybody time, right? They can respond faster and with confidence. They're not digging, they're not guessing, and it makes them more productive and they're really contributing on day one. So again, give the new hires the best tool on day one. Technology is a tool, all right? Don't fool yourself. It's a wrench, right? If it's something I need to go find and fix something, it's a tool. It's just a tool. And it's going to help your team in the long run to be able to find all that information, and it's empowering for people. Okay. I was actually doing a training with a client that's been with us for a number of years. They had a struggle with trying to find a mechanical drawing. And he said, you know, I can't find the mechanical drawing. I searched for it and found that mechanical drawing in about 10 seconds. And he literally just sat back in his chair and he says, well, show me the photos for this over here. And I showed him exactly where the photos were for it too. And he goes, holy crud. He said, I had no idea, right? He uses different platforms, he uses different stuff, but at the end of the day, what he ends up doing is going out in the field and trying to find this stuff. Doesn't do that anymore, right? I did a site walk with him yesterday too, and he's looking everything that he was throwing at me. I'm just going, here it is right here. I showed him my phone. It's right here. And then he pulls it up on his phone and just started doing the same thing on his phone. He goes, oh my God. He goes, you have no idea. And then he started telling me all the stories, how it could have helped him. Think about that. Your team's going to have those same stories. They're going to have those same, hey, you know what? I didn't know that. Or gosh, you know, it'd be nice if I could also do X. Great. Let's do it. So let's look at it from a little bit different perspective too. It's think about all the history of your buildings. So are all of your historical project as-built accessible in the field? Look at that photo. I took that photo, right? Old blue lines, right? There's old Mylars in those drawers. There's a whole bunch of rolls and shelves back behind that. I mean, just hundreds and hundreds of project drawings. Each one of those rolls represents a change to the building, okay? All of those, each of these blue lines, right? These sets, that's a change to the building. Some of them are the original drawings. Some of them are when you repurpose the east wing of the building, okay? Or you renovated that third floor, whatever the case may be. Each project gets a stack of drawings back in the day. So let's look at the results for that. Okay. Okay, they're not accessible in the field, 90%. I hear this a lot. So being able to see all of that historical, all those historical changes, full MEP sets, okay, not just architectural drawings, not just a life safety drawing, full sets in the field and having them documented where they are, what they were, all the changes in the field, being able to document all of those and having access to those in the field, not having to go back to a plan room, not having to go to a share drive and try and find all that stuff. Pulling it up on my phone, on my laptop, even in the field, right? On my phone, on my tablet, in the field. So, old buildings, here's the problem piles of stuff, just piles and piles of stuff. Old manuals, old rolls of drawings. Okay, oftentimes stuff's missing. You know, an electrician we were working with 5 years ago grabbed the electrical set out of that set of drawings and took it, and never brought it back, or they're missing a sheet. Or in that stack of drawings there's five of them that are duplicates for the same project. Okay. Unknown system locations, stuff moves, stuff changes from project to project. Poor asset documentation, stuff's not documented when they move stuff, repurpose stuff. Knowledge stored in staff memories. That guy on the right probably again is that guy, Carl. He knows where everything is. He was there for all those changes, but he even forgot. And he's retiring soon. He takes that knowledge with him. New buildings, honestly, it's not a lot better usually, right? Large volumes of documentation. Who got it? The project side? Did the facility team ever get it? Is there a long delay? Documentation often is scattered across systems. It's on a share drive. It's on an FTP site. It's on a thumb drive, right? Some of them are on old CDs, right? Teams unfamiliar with new technology. They don't even know where it is, or they can't even open the program to view it. Okay, I oftentimes hear, and I'm not knocking BIM or any of the other systems out there, but your field team's not typically opening up a model on the roof. They want to see a drawing, right? Now, they're not typically updating stuff on their phone in on a roof from a model, right? That's more for design construction. That's more for future planning too. But that doesn't help the field guy. The field guys needs to access stuff now, right? So complex building and automation systems, again, are all integrated in this, but at the end of the day, can your team access all that stuff in the field? So difficulty accessing documentation in the field can cause delays, right? And it's a common problem. So here's a true story too. This is with regards to paper. Okay, this is actually a school. So they had a plan room. They were going to carpet this floor here. Okay, this is one of the photos that they sent. Okay, the FM team loaded some plans into these plastic garbage. They were just planning on moving them over. They put the signs on them, say don't trash. We're just going to move them temporarily. Okay, it says do not trash. 6 a.m. on Monday, director walks in and all the cans are gone. They're gone. They're not even empty. They're gone, right? On Friday night, the custodial crew dumped all those into the dumpster out back, right? It rained. The dumpster lids were not closed, right? The director hears the garbage truck outside and runs to the dumpsters, right? He stopped the truck from dumping that stuff. And his team spent 2.5 hours dumpster diving to retrieve all that stuff, some dating back 80 years. Think about that. All of their historical drawings were in a dumpster, soaking wet, right? No way to capture that institutional knowledge. It's all gone. Okay. Well, we were able to help with some of that, but at the end of the day, then it was like a scavenger hunt. Then it was like going back to every architect they'd ever worked with and all these different projects, trying to track down, can we get another set? Can we get this? Can we get that? Right? Going back to even the county, trying to get permit sets, anything that they could get their hands on. If you're relying on paper, what if that sprinkler head pops in that room? Right? What if that room catches on fire? All that information is gone. You got to capture all that information, document it so that field guy doesn't have to dig, but he can also access all those historical records. And what that looks like is they can all be scanned, organized, and then layered, showing every renovation, but not just every renovation, where the renovation touched. So if you see here on the right-hand side, that orange area there, that's a renovation from 2016 or 2006, I'm sorry. And that renovation there only touched that orange area. So normally what happens if I've got paper or digital, I can open up, if it's a digital file, I can open up that PDF. Nope, not that one. It didn't touch that floor. Nope, not that one. It didn't touch that building. Nope, not that one. It's not even labeled. So I don't even know what building this goes to. The flip side of that is paper's the same way. Got to flip through it. Nope, it's not that one. That's only impacted this building. Or, oh, nope, that one only impacted the basement, not the second floor. Being able to sort through that stuff and access all that information, that's a big deal. But then any future renovations you have, they're all added. Here's one for 2025. It touched this gray area here. Again, that gray area, that's where that project touched. Every renovation's all here. You know exactly where it is. You click on that and it opens up the full MEP set and everybody has access. That's what you can do today. That's technology. You can do that today. So, how long does it take you to get your complete closeout package at the end of a project? Okay, so you're wrapping up a project and GCs, you're going to do your punch walks, you're going to do all your final site walkthrough, and how long does it take you to physically get the complete closeout package at the end of a project? 1 to 3 months, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12 months, or you're still waiting beyond that 12 months? I've had the longest I've heard is 2 years. Okay, and they were waiting 2 years because they didn't specify that they were required to get all this documentation at the end of the project. So then when they started asking for it, the GC started charging them, of course, and the architect started charging them too. Again, no reflection on them. They didn't know what to ask for. They didn't put it in their specs. They didn't say what they were getting at the end of closeout, which I couldn't get my head around. But at the end of the day, they're still waiting. Right. So what's your results here? 4 to 6 months, 7 to 12. Okay. That's what I kind of expected. Why is that? Okay. Think about that. You should be able to be building a closeout package through construction, not at the end, through construction. Everybody, you should have full exposure, but also your facilities team should have full exposure. So think about that. Instead of collecting the documentation after the project ends, it should be built continuously during. So think about that. Your design construction, once you got 100%, starting from that point forward through the entire construction process, you should have access to all the information all in one spot. And your design construction team, your facilities team, your ops, and all your leadership should have full exposure to everything. That way, it's building your construction set through construction. Okay. Build it as you go, turn it over faster. You're continuously building that closeout package from capturing all the information. So all your RFIs, current drawings, photos, submittals, your equipment information, all of the information during construction should be constantly captured. Now, I'm not talking about what the GCs just put in their system. You're the owner. Okay. You're in control. You should have access to not just one project, all of your projects. Go to one spot, not having to log in over here, not having to log in over there, have to go to this FTP site, check my 300 emails I get a week for all my different projects. No, you go to one spot, you can see all your projects, all the information, all documented, all in one spot, current. And then when the project's done, it immediately gets turned over to facilities when you get the keys. Not waiting 6 months, not waiting 12 months, that day. You have a continuous built as built set. You have a continuous, all your RFIs, your submittals, all that information, all organized, keeping it all in one system, every project. Okay. Verified, all your drawings, they're all in there, right? All that stuff is in there. Complete closeout package is accurate and ready before the final walk. You have everything. But more importantly, too, all the stuff in the ceiling grid is being captured during construction. It's all open. Okay, ceiling grid's not in. Everything's there. You can see it all. The equipment's in place. All the shutoffs are there. Document, document, document. While it's all open. Okay, and also that helps your team hit the ground running. So it's delivered when you get it and you have access day one, continuously being built through construction, and everybody's on the same page. Okay, so let's look at it from this standpoint: is how are you receiving those documents? What are you getting? Okay, what are you asking for? What's written into your specs? When you're doing that project, when you're going out for bid, what are you writing in there as part of your closeout package? Is it paper, digital, both? Okay. And when I say both for digital too, is it an FTP site? Are they going to give you access to that document storage system that they're using for a year? Okay. Think about that. What do you get at the end of a project? And how long is it taking? We already said it's it's what did we say? 7 to 12 months led the pack, right? What if you could speed that up and your team can now even start setting PM schedules before you get the closeout? Think about that. You've got access to what's out there. You've got access to what was installed. You know where all the locations are. You can start setting your PM schedules before you even get the keys. You can start getting that program in place. So let's look at the results, Indira. Okay, that's kind of what I expected there too. A lot of it is, again, even the digital side there. You're still asking for digital, but you've got a mix of both. That's kind of normal. I oftentimes hear people are getting, still asking for one full-size set, two half-size sets, or flip that around and getting more full-size sets, multiple copies. If it's paper, all right, remember what I said earlier. If it's paper, it can get damaged. If it's digital and I can't access it, all right, who can access that digital stuff? Is it live with the design construction side of your house for 6 months before it gets turned over to you? Where does that information live? Right? So where that should be is at, again, guys, hand in the keys, but you've got access to everything, mapped equipment locations, as-bills, and shutoffs, all mapped. The equipment manuals, all your reports, all of your inspections, all of that information is all in here. Everybody has access to it day one. Your commissioning reports, all of that is in there, and everybody has access to it day one. So your team hits the ground running on that new building. So access to day one means all your as-bills, mapped equipment and shutoff locations, equipment manuals, warranties. But why that matters is without the access, maintenance teams lose time. They're searching for stuff. They have no knowledge of what's out in the field, and it can take them years in some cases to be able to track down and figure out what these systems do, where they are, how they function together. All right. It also means emergency response is slower. Preventative maintenance starts later, right? And institutional knowledge gaps begin immediately. Okay. If you don't have a way to document stuff even on a new building, you're kind of running in place and your team is going to struggle. So for another poll question here is, can you share current conditions and all your historical information with the contractor before the next project? So think about that. You got a project coming up, right? And you want to be able to give them all the documentation you can find, and I stress you can find for that project or for that building. Can you do that today? So do you just say, here, it's all in the plan room, go find it to the architect or the GC or the trades, whoever the case is, if you're working on the size of the project. So can you share all that current information, all the historical information out with your contractors? How is it easy? Can you? Can't you? How are you doing that? See the results, Indira. Okay. Pretty even split there. Okay. So a lot of times I hear that, yeah, we give them pieces and parts. So I'm giving them everything I can find. That's when surprises can happen. So let's go ahead and close that, Indira. And surprises can look like that, right? You didn't show them or you didn't give them the drawings that showed that the lines moved and they started demo, right? So contractors are spending time searching for stuff. They're also unexpected issues typically can arise. Project costs increase. Repeat after me. Unforeseen condition change orders. That means you didn't tell them that something had moved. You didn't give them documentation showing that something had moved. So now when they hit it, that's money. It's a change order, right? So one of the biggest risks in any renovation is those hidden building conditions. You want to be able to give them everything, all of the historical information, everything. And then if they find something, you're able to add that information. So the next project, the next contractor you work with isn't digging. They're not having to find this kind of stuff either. So with accurate information, accurate building documentation, architects, contractors, and PMs can access historical drawings, all of them, every one of them. Asset locations, they're all documented, all pinned with photos, make, model, serial number, all of that information. All previous renovation details are in there. They can see all the documentation, hidden utilities, things that move, and all the structural information. It's all in there. What that means is now everybody's on the same page. It's going to eliminate a lot of those surprises. It can potentially increase or speed up these renovation projects. You have those fewer surprises, but also can reduce those change orders. So think about change orders during a project, and it's because of unforeseen conditions, something popped up, right? If you can minimize some of those, that's a win. Okay. And again, being able to document stuff that they find is a big deal. So, has your organization started leveraging AI tools in facilities? Now, I know this is a hot one for facilities. So, director level and up, they're embracing AI like crazy. It's just amazing. Okay. Well, the more facilities, boots on the ground folks that I talk to, they're really interested in it too. Not for a lot of times, I think it was they were afraid it was going to take their job. But now I think that's shifted. And I'm seeing a lot more of that shift. They look at it as, wait a minute, if it can tell me, where the air handler is and also what parts I need and when's the last time we serviced this or whatever the case may be, that saves them time. So now it just took AI from being just a business tool to now it's a boots on the ground in the field tool. Teams can then access stuff and use it themselves, and it's going to learn from their patterns too. So let's close that and see where we're at, Indira. Interesting. Okay. So a lot of organizations are starting to look at this. So 84% of you said you're not. So think about it from the perspective, and go ahead and close that, Indira. Let's think about it from the perspective of how this might be able to help you and your team, right? So show me the location of the filter size for AHU1. So imagine being able to pull up and see exactly where that one is. So I'm the new guy. I've just started with your organization. Go back to where, how long does it take to get your new hires up to speed? New hires are traditionally the younger guys too. Every one of your team members has a smartphone in their pocket and they can do this though. So not only show me where is it, what filter does it use? And have all of that information in there, including when was the last change? When's it due next? You could do all of this type of stuff potentially using AI tools and using machine learning and using intelligence, right? All of that information should be accessible. And then I just literally type or text into my phone or even voice into my phone. Tell me where X is and tell me where Y is. And being able to find all that information live. Now you can see here, that makes this a tool. This isn't just technology, this is a tool. Being able to, and that's kind of where we're thinking of it from the perspective of how could this help a guy in the field? Okay, what are some of the things that he wants to know? Well, what if I want to know where all the train air handler model 12345 is because it's had a recall? Okay, and I want to be able to see if I can leverage that while it's free. Being able to pull up all of those, see, I've got 10 of those across my campus, and here's where they are, right? Um, all that information is for you. It's meant to help you. It's meant to help your team. So again, at the end of the day, AI can be a tool as well. So now I'm gonna ask you all, based off of what we just talked about, all those different things. I want you to re-rate your org. So think about it. All those different things you were thinking about, we're in pretty good shape. We're not struggling. We're doing okay. So how would you rate your system health after this conversation? So 1 to 4, we're a mess. We need a lot of help, okay? Or 5 to 7, we're treading water. But we still got some work to do, or we're in pretty good shape. So make your selection there. I'd love to see where you kind of think you're at now based off of some of this conversation. Okay, Indira, let's go ahead and see the results. All right. So this is a little bit different than we had before. All right. We've got some more falling in the middle here. So again, it's you don't know what you don't know, but I want you to kind of think outside the box. It's kind of that self-reflection that we were talking about earlier is look at yourself. This isn't me. This is you guys looking at yourself internally and evaluating yourself and seeing where do you think you guys kind of land? So the next thing here, go ahead and close that poll is again, your infrastructure, look at it from the standpoint of, where are we at? Do we have an aging infrastructure? Do we have a lot of wear and tear? Is a lot of our stuff outdated? Where are you at? Just kind of think about that when you think about your organization and reevaluate yourself and see where you land. So let's re-rate your team now. How would you rate your team? So based off of you've got some people leaving, you've got some people that are coming in, that ramp up time for your team. Also, where are you at with regards to having all that information accessible for everybody? So again, kind of The 1 to 4 is the turnover and down head count and treading water, and we're fully staffed. So where do you think you land based off of all the stuff that we talked about earlier? Okay, let's go and see the results, Indira. Okay, we're pretty even split here. Okay, so again, it's a little bit different than we had before, but again, it's just all about self-reflection. We're looking at ourselves and saying, maybe we're not as great as we were, or maybe we're better than we thought. At the end of the day, I think it's good that we all kind of sit back and look ourselves in the mirror and figure out where we're at and where we think we should be. All right. So again, part of the challenges with facilities teams is, especially in when they've lost a lot of folks, is it's a lot of digging. It's a lot of trying to figure out where stuff is. And again, missing people, missing information. People take vacations, they leave, they retire. We've had turnover because somebody left and got another job, or we've got a lot of new hires. A lot of information is kind of floating out there, whether it's in paper, whether it's in people's heads, whether it's in a binder someplace, or it can be a mix of all of those different things. But I think at the end of the day is we need to kind of figure out ways that you can grab all that information. And honestly, I'm a firm believer it starts with what's in every single person's pocket, right? Everything's in one spot. I call it the fabric that connects it all, right? Organized. Everybody's got a smartphone in their pocket. They should be able to pull their phone out of their pocket and find what the heck they need, right? Whether they're on a roof, they're in a mechanical room, or they're driving home, or they're get that call at 2 o'clock in the morning. Being able to update and open up and click an app and have everything in one spot so my entire team can find whatever the heck they need to do their job, but also communicate, make changes as things change. So the threads together, it's ops, so your operations side, so your leadership as well, the maintenance team, safety, compliance. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's singing from the same song, right? Everybody is able to find the information they need, and it's all the same. Not 5 buckets that are all different. It's all in one spot, and everybody's got access, and it's all the same stuff, but shareable real time to everybody. Having access to all that information and being able to share it out with that contractor, being able to share it out with my vendor, being able to share it out with my team, being able to share it out with a first responder when something goes sideways. You can do that. Okay. And it goes from what we showed before of it being more kind of gosh, we're being reactive. We're relying on vendors are a mess right now. We're struggling. We're down headcount. We're down on our PMs to now we're again, maintenance is on track, building information, everything's in one spot. We're up to date on safety and compliance, emergency readiness. We're ready, okay, as ready as we can be, but we're proactive, and our budgets and costs are on track. Our team is empowered, right? Work orders are on track. We're closing strong. Vendors, we got a really good partnership with our vendors. Our vendors are utilizing the same systems. Everybody's on the same page, but we're also doing constant continuous improvement, always getting better every day. We're prepared, proactive, and in control. Again, your team should be able to access whatever the heck they need. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's singing from the same song, and everybody is literally moving in the same direction, and that's forward. So, Indira, you want to share a little bit about this?
Yep. Thank you so much, David. That was fun seeing all the poll responses. So thank you to the audience for participating. And, for today's attendees, if you want to schedule a complimentary mid-year operational review with our team, we'll prepare a personalized facilities operational readiness report based on your specific responses. So you can scan the code, or in the chat, you can just click that link, fill out the little short form, and then we'll reach out to you to do that. So, David, why don't we go ahead and get into some questions, because I have some that have come in.
Absolutely.
And well, first question I have is, how big of a problem is institutional knowledge loss due to retirement?
Oh, that's a good one. It depends on your org. I always say, okay, think of it from this perspective. You've got 3 people on your team, or one person on your team, even that when they leave, what's that impact on your team? So think about Is that the person that everybody calls? Is that the person who was there when that change happened, as I mentioned earlier? Or is that the person that even all of your newest people are calling nonstop? Okay. And how many times, not just your team, but how many times are you calling him as a leader? Are you calling Bob? Are you calling Carl? Are you calling Kathy? How many people are you calling that you rely on the daily? Well, why can't you call the next person sitting next to him and ask the same question? Now, I get it. People, the individual trades and things like that. Don't get me wrong. But you shouldn't be able to, you shouldn't have to just rely on one person. Okay. So that's a lot of institutional knowledge in those heads. What's the impact on your team? And again, this can be specific for you, but what's the impact if that person leaves tomorrow? Because that should be your urgency. That should be your call to action right there is what does that mean to you and your organization if they leave tomorrow?
Great. Another question here. How can I share my shut off information with my custodial team that usually finds the leaks?
Oh yeah, I love that question because custodial team, they're boots on the ground. And oftentimes when I'm doing site walks, our team does site walks and maps stuff out all the time for our clients. And oftentimes I'll go right to the custodian because they know where all the electrical panels are because they are in every room every day. And to be able to give them access is simple. You just create a user for them or you put them in as a user into the platform. They can see everything too.
Okay. Here's another question. How do I get my CFO to care about investing in a tool like this?
I think at the end of the day, for the CFO level, it comes down to looking at it as an operational risk. Okay. In that, what that means is if we don't have this and we have a next big incident that happens, it can mean X. Okay, so think about it from the last time you've had a big event like a water leak, okay, or just role play that with them. If we don't have our stuff documented and we've got a multi-story building and we have a water leak, it means we're not going to, if you're a school, it means we can't have classes in those areas. We're going to have to repurpose or move relocate people to other areas. If you're in healthcare, lives are at stake. Okay. Or if you're in clinical research or biomed or any of that kind of stuff, you got to relocate people and other things can be lost. But even if you're in a commercial space, okay, you're in an office building, right? That means tenants have to move, people have to move. It can be catastrophic for any organization if you don't have stuff documented. So put it in terms that they'll understand too, but then assign a number to that. Okay, think about it. We can help with that if you reach out and scan that QR code. Happy to work with you on that because we've got some real life use cases of people that have run into those very things. But I think at the end of the day, you got to put it in terms that they understand, but also the risks associated. If we don't, this is what that could mean.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. You can go back to the Q slide in case someone
Sure.
wants to see that. And then another question I have here is, how does your team share equipment changes?
Mhm. Yeah. So when you change a piece of equipment, you can, in our system anyway, what you can do is you can update the current information that's in that equipment record, or you can delete it and put in a new, all new equipment record with all the original details. Our system, if you take a picture even of the serial plate and it's got make, model, serial number, and all of that, it may even have install and it's got the wattage and all that. It'll actually attach that photo to the equipment record, but then it reads the information on that photo and it'll pre-populate make, model, serial number, and all of that. Then you can put even a tag in, it's a little digital tag inside of the system that says new. Or even if you've replaced, you can put a tag in there that says replaced. Then what'll happen is on a quarterly basis or monthly basis or even an annual basis, you can go into that and you can sort it by just those and see here's all the new stuff, here's all the stuff that's been replaced, here's all the stuff that's been decommissioned, and you can share that out and update it live.
Awesome. And then we're just about out of time, but I did have a couple of questions, David, as far as how long it would take to implement the system.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the size of your organization, but we're traditionally in the 90 to 120 days window, and that's from, a school or a hospital or whatever the case may be. But obviously, schools that have, tens of millions of square feet, that's a little bit different discussion. And we take that off even in zones. So again, take it off in chunks and we do it as a staged implementation. But at the end of the day, it's really fast. And that's from the time documents are picked up to the time it's implemented and all the site walks are done and all the mapping is done. And our team actually does the site walk. So we go out and map all the locations of this stuff. But then we also teach your team how they can add stuff. We know we're going to miss something. So if your team's up on a ladder and they're fixing something and they turn around, there's that water valve or gas valve or whatever, they can actually take their phone out of their pocket, document it, hit save, and everybody sees it in about 10 seconds.
Awesome. Couple of people asked if they can get a copy of the web. Well, we're going to be sending a recording link out to everybody. So look out for an email from facilities. And in terms of, David, if you just go back one more slide, if anybody wants a personalized kind of review based on your specific poll questions, let us know. It's actually just a good way to talk to a team member, talk about your challenges. David can be included in that as well.
Sure.
And that is all of the questions we have. If you go back to the contact slide, I want everybody to please check out Facility Voices, the podcast that David hosts. There's so many good conversations that David has with just a variety of facilities folks across any industry you can think of and across the United States. And we would love for you to check out our website, our blogs. Other than that, we are, like I said, we're going to be sending out a recording for this webinar. You can reach out to us here. You can connect with David on LinkedIn. And we hope to see you at the next webinar. David, anything else before we wrap up?
No, if you have any questions or anybody would like some additional one-on-one with me, definitely reach out. That's my cell number. Send me a text, send me an email. Let's get something booked. I'd love to talk to you about your situation and see what you're doing and share your stories.
Thanks again, everyone, for coming today and for participating in the polls. Have a great day. Bye-bye.